Law 4. Always say less than necessary. Imagine you're negotiating a business deal. The other side asks, "Why should we accept your offer?" You could spend 10 minutes explaining your company's strategy, your projections, your advantages, your future plans, and every reason you're confident. Or you could say, "We believe this is the strongest offer available to us." And stop. The second approach creates something extremely valuable: space for interpretation. Robert Greene's fourth law argues that excessive talking can weaken your position. Why? Because every additional sentence gives other people another opportunity to challenge you, misunderstand you, or discover your uncertainty. And there's a simple psychological effect behind this. When information is incomplete, people often fill the gaps themselves. That's why silence can be powerful. Consider Abraham Lincoln. During the American Civil War, Lincoln became known for using humor, stories, and simple language, rather than constantly trying to sound intellectually superior. His famous Gettysburg Address lasted only a few minutes. It contained far fewer words than the long speech that preceded it. Yet Lincoln's brief remarks became one of the most remembered speeches in American history. The lesson isn't always speak less. That's too simplistic. The lesson is make every word carry weight. In business, this matters enormously. Suppose an investor asks an entrepreneur, "Why did your company's revenue fall last quarter?" A nervous founder might immediately start talking. Well, actually, there were several factors. First, the market changed. Then our competitor launched a product, and then the founder may accidentally turn one difficult question into 5 new questions. A more disciplined answer might be, 2 major factors affected the quarter. We've identified both, and here's what we're doing about them. Then explain only what matters. Clarity is not silence. Control is knowing when to stop. And here's the dangerous part. The more powerful your position, the more people may interpret your words as signals. A CEO who constantly explains every decision can appear defensive. A politician who responds emotionally to every criticism can appear reactive. A negotiator who keeps increasing their offer can reveal how badly they want the deal. Sometimes the strongest sentence in a negotiation is, "That's our position." And then, silence. But this creates a new problem. Because if you're saying less, what exactly are people using to judge you? Your reputation. Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Imagine 2 companies offer you the exact same product, same price, same features, same delivery time. But one company has spent 20 years building a reputation for reliability. The other has a reputation for cutting corners. Which one do you trust? That's reputation. It's an invisible asset. You can't put it on a balance sheet in the same way as cash, but it can determine whether people buy from you, invest in you, work for you, or believe you. Warren Buffett understood this extremely well. Buffett has repeatedly emphasized the extraordinary value of reputation and the importance of avoiding actions that could damage it. And there's a reason. A reputation built over decades can be damaged by one spectacular mistake. One of the clearest examples came from Salomon Brothers. In 1991, the Wall Street Investment Bank was engulfed in a major Treasury security scandal after trader Paul Moser violated bidding rules. The consequences were severe. The company's credibility was threatened, regulators intervened, And Warren Buffett, who had become chairman of Solomon temporarily during the crisis, worked to stabilize the firm and restore trust. The lesson is bigger than the scandal itself. A financial institution doesn't sell only financial products, it sells trust. And once trust disappears, the economics can change very quickly. The same principle applies to individuals. Imagine you're applying for a leadership position. Your resume says you're brilliant, but 3 former colleagues describe you as unreliable. Your resume may get you into the room. Your reputation determines what happens after you enter. This is why reputation management is not simply about looking good, it's about consistency. If you repeatedly make promises and deliver, people begin to associate your name with reliability. If you repeatedly break promises, the opposite happens. Your name becomes a warning sign. And this is where power games become darker. Greene argues that reputation can also be used offensively. If an opponent's credibility collapses, their arguments may become harder for others to accept, even when some of those arguments are reasonable. Politics gives us countless examples of this. Political campaigns don't only argue about policies, they often argue about the character of the person proposing them. Can you trust this candidate? Is this person competent? Are they honest? Are they one of us? Once voters form a strong perception of a candidate, new information may be interpreted through that existing reputation. This is why political campaigns spend enormous amounts of time defining opponents. But there's an important warning here. Reputation should not mean blindly believing a public image. A polished reputation can be manufactured. A terrible reputation can be exaggerated. And sometimes a reputation survives facts that should have destroyed it. So the smartest approach isn't protect your reputation at any cost. It's build a reputation that can survive scrutiny. Because eventually, reality tests every image. And that leads to the 6th law. Because even if you're competent, even if your reputation is strong, there's still one problem. What if nobody notices you? Law 6. Court attention at all cost. Think about a crowded marketplace. Hundreds of companies, thousands of products, millions of advertisements. Now imagine launching something genuinely excellent and nobody notices. That's the nightmare. In the 48 Laws of Power, Greene argues that attention itself is a form of power. And in today's attention economy, this idea may be even more relevant than when the book was published. Consider Richard Branson. Virgin wasn't built purely through conventional corporate advertising. Branson repeatedly turned himself and the Virgin brand into a spectacle. He participated in publicity stunts, unusual challenges, and attention-grabbing events. The point wasn't simply entertainment, it was visibility. When thousands of companies are competing for attention, what happens if one company becomes impossible to ignore? It gets remembered. And being remembered can create enormous commercial value. Apple understood this differently. When Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone in 2007, the event was designed around anticipation, storytelling, and a dramatic reveal. Apple didn't simply announce another mobile phone. Jobs presented it as something that could change what a phone was. The product mattered, but so did the presentation, because attention creates the opportunity for persuasion. And this principle extends far beyond business. Politicians understand it, entertainers understand it, entrepreneurs understand it, even social media creators understand it. The internet has created a strange paradox. We have more information than any generation in history, but attention has become scarcer. That means being invisible can be expensive, but there's a trap. If you chase attention without a purpose, you can become famous for the wrong reason. A company can create controversy and damage its brand. A politician can generate headlines and alienate voters. A creator can go viral and attract an audience that has no interest in what they actually want to build. So the real lesson isn't do anything to get attention. It's Get attention that reinforces the identity you want people to remember. This is the difference between noise and strategic visibility. A luxury brand doesn't necessarily want to be everywhere. It wants to be seen in the right places. A startup doesn't need everyone to know it exists. It needs the right investors, customers, and employees to notice it. And a political candidate doesn't merely need attention. They need attention that translates into recognition, credibility, and ultimately, votes.